I'm giving away a free animation every week until 2025, and this is week 2. If you missed the original announcement, link is in the description, and it has all the information about what I'm doing and how you can use these animations, which basically they're yours to do whatever you want with because they're free as in freedom, and all I ask in return is you like this video and subscribe to the channel. The positivity and scale of the response to last week was so incredible. Thank you for all the fantastic feedback, animation ideas, and getting involved in the Discord. As you can see from the video length, this video is a big one, but I was so blown away by the response to my first animation that I got a little carried away, or a lot carried away. First, I'll show you the animations, and then I'm going to take you step by step for modifying them for a completely different genre of game, giving you my full animation modification workflow in this video. Then there's a fun little surprise at the end. Let's get into it. This week's animation is 6 animations. These actually started as animations I'd commissioned a long time ago, but I spent the week modifying, adding to, and polishing them. I started with 2 rifle animations, equipping and unequipping a rifle from the character's back, and then I added an idle loop because the character drawing and then immediately holstering the rifle made them look super indecisive. Then I thought, well, these animations literally aren't going anywhere. So I added a run cycle as well as the starts and stops for it, and it ended up with a nice, useful set of animations. And I hope you enjoy them. The rifle I used for these animations, as well as the demos, is available for free on the Unreal Marketplace from Adia Entertainment. It's called Military Weapons Dark, and the link's in the description to get that pack. Shout out to Adia Entertainment for releasing such a phenomenal pack, and the silver versions that fit as well for free. So you have all these new animations, and let's say you're not making a rifle game, you're making a medieval game or a melee weapon combat game that you want to adapt these animations to look good for those types of weapons. Or for example, you don't want a rifle, you also have a shotgun where you want to carry it a little lower, you have a pistol, sniper rifle, whatever it happens to be. You want to take these animations and quickly get them into a different weapon type or a different posture and those kinds of things without a tremendous amount of work, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. The first thing we need is a weapon to use. Thankfully, there's another free asset pack on the marketplace called Free Fantasy Weapon Sample Pack. The link's in the description, and shout out to Prop Garden LLC for producing such a high quality asset pack and releasing it for free. I chose the longsword because it's a pretty standard two-handed weapon, but any of the weapons from this pack would have been perfectly fine and would work well with this animation. I'm gonna open up this animation and let's get him set up for a two-handed sword. Now, I already have sockets created, but I'm going to show you how to do that again. So first things first, we know we want to use a sword. And so I'm going to right click on any of the sockets and say remove all attached assets. And then on that spine socket that I created, so you want to create off spine 5 or whatever's most appropriate for your model, add a preview asset, and I'll just start typing sword. And sure enough, so I've already got this one set up, and I picked the spine over the clavicle because if you notice, as he moves around, it's just much more stable on the back. It makes more sense for this weapon to be attached to his back. And then we'll go to the right hand, and I made a socket. So if you want to make a new socket, because this is the one for the rifle, so I should really rename that rifle. And then I made one for the sword, but if you want to make one, you just go here, you say add socket, and we're just going to make another one and line it up so that you see how this is done. I right click, add preview asset, just like we did before, type in sword, and for starters, that is perfect. We can just rotate this sword around and get everything positioned just so, and then we will bring it down so it's in the hand. Let's go ahead, and sometimes it's really helpful, since that's the hand spot for it, we just move this down. Go ahead and hit F, and then we can, and take a look here. Yeah, so that's not exactly perfect. Perfect. So, and now he's got the sword in his hand. And so it turns out I did the same thing with socket sword. When it comes time in the model, whenever you want to change how the sword is sitting in the right hand, you change it here. You change it via the socket because that's the easiest thing to do. And then you may still change where the sword is located if the character's pronating their arms or doing anything where they want to stretch it out so it's not just a straight fist on the sword. We can do all of that in the animation, but the base, everything lined up properly, should be done right here. So let's go edit in sequencer, bake to control rig, and now I'm going to show you how to turn this rifle animation into a two-handed sword animation. We'll go to add just start typing sword, and sure enough, there it is. Bring it over into view. And first things first, we're going to put it on the back. Working with props like rifles or swords relies heavily on Unreal's constraint system, and in this case, parent constraints. I realized after recording the tutorial you're about to see that I hadn't clearly described parent constraints, so I'll do that right now first. So we want to parent the gun to the back, meaning where the back is the parent and the gun is the child. It's just going to follow that back around wherever it goes. So we're going to parent it to the clavicle socket that we just created, and then when it's time for the hand to grab it, we're going to parent it over to the hand. So I'll show you how to do that right now. You select the child first always. You go to Constraints in the Animation tab, hit plus. I want a parent constraint. Then you go pick the actor that you want to parent it to, and it allows you to select a socket. In this case, we're going to start with the clavicle R socket. And notice how it didn't move. You need to come over here, right-click, and disable the maintain offset, and that'll put it on the back. And so now, sure enough, see how it moves with the back as things are happening. And that's it. Now we can get into the main tutorial. And first things first, we're going to put it on the back onto that spine socket. So we have the child selected. We're in frame 0. Always be in frame 0 when what you want it to do at the start. We'll go in, parent constraint, select the parent we want, go back here and find the spine socket. And it didn't move, so we have to come over to the constraint itself, right-click, disable, and now it's right on the back. And you'll notice this blue means that the constraint is active. And we know that we want that active until, I don't know. So here's, see where his hand is? We're going to change everything about where his hand is, and you'll notice they're in FK again, so we'll go ahead and fix that real quick. We'll go to the global control. I'll close off the sequencer for a second. We'll go back to frame 0, put the arms into IK, delete all of the keys. So now we have arms in IK for the duration of the event. You can change this animation however you want, but I always try to do stuff that's going to make it easier, make the things I have to change less. So if you watch his hand positioning, right now that would put the sword straight through the back. There, that rotation is going to cause the sword to, the hilt to rotate towards the head, which if you think about it, he's going to pull this sword over his head, which is going to cause it to continue to rotate over his head. So that's actually going to, when we snap the weapon, that motion is going to actually indicate what's about to happen. So it's going to match the motion that we're looking for. So I'm going to start parenting. I'm going to change the parenting over. So we'll select the sword. We're going to add a keyframe at frame 9 to have it no longer be controlled. And again, you see it's following the back, and then it's just not. And we want to switch it over to the hand at frame 9. So again, we select the sword. We're going to parent it to the right hand. So we find hand R socket sword, the one we just created. Again, it didn't move, so we got to go over here. And technically you can just, if you disable maintain offset, you're good to go. The dynamic offset doesn't get applied. All right, so there we go. And so let's go ahead and watch this in motion and see what we've got. Oh yeah. So, okay, so there's a couple things that we're going to want to clean up. Adapting the rifle animation into a sword animation, it's going to be a two-pass approach. The first one is I get the sword positioning, I get everything in the final destination spot, and I do the essentially overall getting everything to look good and be posed properly. And then the second pass, which isn't going to be done the same way, is going to be cleaning up little issues. Like if you watch this animation, you'll notice, see how the sword kind of vibrates right there. See how it's kind of moving around not smoothly? So we need to arc track that hand so that the hilt of the sword is just a nice smooth pull. But we're not going to do that using the workflow I'm about to show you because it's just not efficient. There's a much more efficient way to do that that I'll show you after this. So now let's go fix. So I don't like how close that sword is to his head considering it's a bladed weapon. We're going to want to bring it out, and also it just doesn't end at a good spot. See, and this hand is a bit of a disaster because he's going to shoot sword bullets, and that's not what I'm after. I want an actual two-handed sword animation. So let's get there. So to do this, what I'm going to do is go to my control rig, hit the plus sign, and select additive. But I want to do that from frame 0. So if I go here, plus sign, additive, I now have an additive layered control rig on top of the one that I just had, which allows me to go make some changes. So for example, if I know I'm good right here, I'm going to go ahead and just key that control rig. And I always try to key the control rig so that when you know what you're modifying in the animation, you can bound your changes. So I don't like where this ends up, right? That's not a good posture for holding this sword. It's not a dynamic animation. It's not a good pose. So I don't need to set one, but typically what I'll do is I'll figure out the area that I want to change. I'll set a 0 keyframe at the start of it. Before I make any modifications, I'll set a 0 keyframe after it. And that way, when I make the changes in the middle, it applies those changes, but by the time you get to the end, it's back to the original animation and you've done no harm. Okay, so let's see here. So we know, let's decide what endpoint. So we have the start, which is right here, and we have the endpoint, which is right there. So let's go ahead and select the hand. We only need to make a key on the hand. And let's move it. Let's get everything where we want it. And see, he's already going to the final distance. So it actually works quite well. See, we've already changed fundamentally what this character's doing. So it's not bad, but let's do a couple more just to show you. So in this case, you have complete control. So if he's gonna hold it like this, which might make some good sense. That would, from a line of action standpoint, you see how this line kind of goes perfectly with the legs, but you may want to break that up to show a more poised, I'm going to attack, right? And then you've got that nice line. Also, he's probably going to, let's get in here and grab the hand again. I'm assuming I don't know. Yeah, he's probably going to hold it back a little bit, and that gives us that nice line through. I'm assuming down a little bit. Maybe I went a little too far. Yeah, so let's try that. So he might, I don't know, does he want it more back? Let's assume that's good. You can do it to taste, do it to your preference. So now that we've got that, and we're gonna fix that right hand a little bit more. I'm not sure we want it to be angled backwards like that. Actually, it was just a little more dynamic when it ended more vertically. Yeah. All right. So let's look at it from this direction. So I try to just, you're looking for visual appeal. Ignore that left hand because obviously we aren't shooting sword bullets. So we're going to put that hand on the sword maybe, which now allows me to show you the two-handed constraint again, which is just kind of a crucial thing for modifying this animation. So let's go figure out the moment when that sword hits. I think the sword hits at 20. Bam. Right there. So let's go ahead and we kind of want the hand to catch the sword at its moment where it's coming to rest beside him. So we want this left hand, by frame 20, we want this left hand to be over here. So I'm going to go ahead and key, let's see. Yeah, he's fine right there. So he's already keyed. I have a 0 key. And then I want him to be by frame 20. Let's go ahead and just I can clearly see I'm not. Okay, so I'll hit F to center on the hand, bring it around, bring it in. And if all these things get in your way, you can always hit G to get a good look at everything before you come in again. And I think we're going to want to do this. I'll hit F again so that I can move around. Yep, so it's moving through his hand. So we'll go ahead and fix that. Bring it closer so it's kind of resting in his palm. I think we could go just a little deeper so it's a more... So when we wrap this thing around. Now the question is did I go far enough? I think so, but I could... The wrist is breaking a little bit, so I might want to just be a little more... Now let's... Okay. And I feel like... No, that's good where it was. All right. So I'm not going to spend too much time polishing this. I'm not going to edit the hands, but there we go. So now we have... Boom. And so let's go to frame 20. We're saying we like this pose. Everything looks good here, I think. And so I'm not entirely sure I got the angle. Yeah, that looks right. That actually looks really good. So now I'm going to parent constrain. I've got the left hand selected. I'm going to parent that to the sword. And then as usual, so this one is a little different. I don't want a dynamic offset. I want it to stay on that sword just like it is right now. But I do want to maintain the offset from the sword. I want the hand where it is relative to that sword always. And so now, bam. And you notice it moves more cleanly already. Like it's not moving off the sword. It feels like it's connected to it. And so, for example, if we then take this hand, if we think about the parenting again, just like with the weapon or the rifle, the left hand's in control. The sword is going to follow the left hand, and the right hand, or sorry, if we look at this in terms of parentage again, you've got the right hand is in complete control, the sword follows the right hand, and the left hand follows the sword. So if we start moving things, we can now position this exactly how we want. Bam. And that's already a pretty good animation. That actually looks really good. But if you want to do any other tweaks, you can get it there. So, and actually, the more I look at it, yeah, I don't like that flipping. So we're going to go polish this animation, and that'll close out this tutorial. So we'll get this to a good final end state. But now your rifle animation can be used to stab things. So I used that layer workflow, and the next thing I need to do to clean out and actually polish this animation is I'm going to bake this animation out. So I go up to my scene actor, or the actor in the level sequence. Bake animation sequence. I'll go find a good place to put this, and we'll call this longsword equip from back V1 no polish. So it still needs to be polished, and that's what we're going to do. And so now when we go to our, we should now have this guy right here, which is, he's not a terrible looking animation, but he's still got, if you look at the back, that you can just see that flickering, the almost vibration that the sword does. It's just no good. So now, yep, we'll go to that animation, edit in sequencer, bake to control rig. Close this down. We've done this a bunch before. And so now let's go, we got to go redo the parenting. I'm just going to do that very quickly here. Okay. So now, so I got to decide, I could either fix this in IK or I can fix it in FK. Let's see if we can just fix this in FK real quick. So first things first, I'm going to save it. I'm going to go to that. I'm going to select the level sequence, Control D. So now I have a backup, and we'll just move over to level sequence 1. We'll go select this. We'll start with the shoulder because that's really going to drive. Well, actually, we can often start with the clavicle to see if it's got problems. It does not. So we'll start with the shoulder. Yeah, you can just see the, yeah, so these discontinuities right here, I'm just going to get rid of them actually. So let's move in to see what we're dealing with here. Try to smooth that out a little bit. It's probably going to make it look ridiculous. Yeah, so that didn't, Okay, so it's smoother, but it's just in the wrong. It's just in the wrong spot. So it's this one that I think we want to go find the elbow. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we're going to go see if we can fix this a little more. Okay, so it's already better. We're going to fix that bump right there in a second. Okay, I want that to be a little smoother. And if you want a better curve on this, you can just middle click on the thing and we can just, create the curve that we're looking for, a nice little ease. And then we've obviously got this rotation to fix here. It's red, so we know it's roll. And let's just it's not a big rotation, so this shouldn't be too much of a problem. Oh, it's already looking better. That actually might have done most of it. Oh yeah. Okay. So now you're seeing my baked cleaning workflow where I'm deleting keys and just cleaning up and making everything look how I like it. Let's see if we've got anything else to fix in this. And that's the equip animation done, except for hand posing. This was part 1 of a 3-part tutorial. In the next part, I'll walk through modifying the idle and run loops, how to make them loop smoothly after modifying them, as well as how to modify the idle to run and run to idle animations. In the third part, I'll cover the all-important hand posing as well as final polish. But now, for the sort of surprise. Included with the 6 rifle animations are 6 matching longsword animations, fully polished and ready to go. Week 2 was a lot, I know, but I really just wanted to go the extra mile here as a way to say thank you for all the support. The animations are on the Discord, and I hope you like them. Next week, I'll go a bit smaller scale. And as usual, let me know in the comments and on Discord if there are any animations you'd like to see or any more detail you want from these tutorials, or if you run into any trouble trying to follow them. I really appreciate everybody's support. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.